My future daughter-in-law's father leaned across the table, his gold Rolex clinking against his wine glass, and looked me dead in the eye. May, he sneered, there are players in this world, and there are spectators. A woman who buys her clothes at a grocery store shouldn't be sitting at a table with people who own the store. He then slid a check for $5,000 toward me. Take this, he whispered. Stay away from the wedding. Tell Leo you're sick. We can't have the CEO of Sterling Global seeing a mother-in-law who looks like this. I looked at the check. I looked at his arrogant, smug face. He had no idea that I didn't just know the CEO of Sterling Global. I am the CEO of Sterling Global. And that promotion he's been praying for. The one that would save his family from the secret debt they're drowning in. I had the contract in my purse. And instead of signing it, I was about to shred it. Today, I'm going to tell you the story of how a poor, naive mother took down a dynasty of bullies without raising her voice. Grab your tea, honey. This one gets cold before it gets very, very hot. Would you like me to move on to the next segment, where the daughter-in-law attempts to buy May out of her son's life? They say that money can't buy happiness, but it can certainly buy a mask. And sometimes, to see who someone really is, you have to take off your own mask and put on a cheaper one. I'm May. Most people in this city know me as the woman behind Sterling Global, the ice queen of the boardroom. But to my son, Leo, I'm just mom. Leo is the kindest soul I know, maybe too kind. When he told me he wanted to marry a girl named Tiffany, I was thrilled. But when I saw the way Tiffany looked at my old gardening clothes when I first met her, I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the weather. I decided then and there, I wouldn't tell them about the billions. I wouldn't tell them about the private jets or the estate. I wanted to see if they were marrying my son, or my spreadsheet. The Meet the Parents dinner was set at Leclerc, the most expensive restaurant in the downtown district. It's a place where the waiters look down their noses at you if your watch costs less than a Honda. My assistant, Sarah, was horrified when she saw what I was wearing. It was a dress I'd kept from 30 years ago, faded polyester, a bit tight in the waist, with a pattern of daisies that had seen better days. I topped it off with a plastic handbag I bought at a gas station, and drove my housekeeper's 2008 sedan that has a persistent rattle in the muffler. Leo was worried. Mom, you don't have to do this, he whispered as we pulled up to the valet. They're very particular people. I just patted his hand. Don't you worry, sugar. If they love you, they'll love your dear old, struggling mother, won't they? As I walked into that restaurant, I felt the eyes. The hostess didn't even want to check my reservation. She looked at my scuffed shoes like I'd just tracked mud onto a silk rug. When we reached the table, Tiffany's parents, Richard and Evelyn, didn't even stand up. Richard was wearing a suit that cost more than the car I drove in, and Evelyn was dripping in diamonds so large they looked like stage props. Leo, Richard boomed, not even looking at me. You're late. And who is this? Tiffany looked like she wanted the floor to swallow her whole. She didn't introduce me as a CEO. She didn't even introduce me as a business owner. She leaned over and whispered, "This is Leo's mother, May." She took the bus in from the outskirts. The silence that followed was deafening. Evelyn didn't offer her hand. She just adjusted her pearls and said, "Oh, how quaint. I didn't know people still wore polyester in this decade." The dinner was a masterclass in polite cruelty. Richard spent 20 minutes talking about his struggling employees and how hard it was to find good help these days, pointedly looking at me every time he said the word help. "So, May," Evelyn said, swilling a vintage Bordeaux. "Leo tells us you're a widow. It must be so difficult managing on a, what do they call it, a fixed income." We were going to suggest a destination wedding in Lake Como, but I suppose we'll have to settle for a local community hall so you don't feel priced out. I just smiled, the kind of sweet, vacant smile that makes people think you're too dim to be offended. "Oh, a community hall sounds lovely," I said. "I can bring my famous potato salad." It saves so much on catering. Tiffany's face turned bright red. Richard actually laughed, a dry, hacking sound. Potato salad. Right. Well, Leo, we'll talk about your dowry later. It's clear your family brings other things to the table. They thought they were winning. They thought they were the giants and I was the ant. But as I watched Richard brag about a promotion he was hoping to get from the mysterious owner of Sterling Global, I took a slow sip of my water. He had no idea he was currently insulting the only person who could sign his paycheck. The trap was set. They thought I was a burden to be managed. They had no idea I was the storm that was about to wash their house away. But first, I had to see just how far Tiffany would go to get rid of me. A week after that disastrous dinner, Tiffany called me. Not Leo, me. She asked to meet at a coffee shop tucked away in the financial district. I knew this place. The baristas usually recognized me, so I made sure to pull my hood up and wear my thickest, old lady, reading glasses. When I sat down, Tiffany didn't even buy me a coffee. She had a double-shot espresso in front of her and a look of pure coldness on her face. The sweet girl Leo fell for was gone. May, she started, her voice tight. Let's be honest with each other. Leo is a rising star. He has potential. But image is everything in our circles. My father is about to land a massive executive role at Sterling Global. We are going to be one of the most powerful families in the city. I nodded slowly, playing the part. That sounds wonderful, honey. I'm so proud of him. She slammed her hand on the table. But you don't fit. Look at you. My mother is mortified. She's telling everyone you're the hired help, because she's too ashamed to say you're the mother-in-law. If you show up to the wedding looking like a charity case, you'll ruin my father's reputation before he even starts his new job. She reached into her designer purse and pulled out a thick, cream-colored envelope. She pushed it toward me, like it was something filthy. There's $5,000 in there, Tiffany whispered. It's more than you probably see in a year. I want you to call Leo tonight. Tell him your back is acting up, or your cat is sick. I don't care what lie you use. Just tell him you can't make it to the wedding. In exchange, I'll make sure your medical bills are taken care of for the next few months. My heart didn't break for me. It broke for my son. He was at home right now, looking at tuxedos, thinking he'd found a partner. And here she was, trying to prune his family tree like it was a weed. Is this what Leo wants? I asked, my voice trembling, partly from the act, partly from real anger. Tiffany laughed. Leo doesn't need to know. He's soft. He'll be sad for a day, and then he'll move on to his new, perfect life with me. Don't be selfish, May. If you love him, you'll disappear. She stood up, adjusted her sunglasses, and walked out without looking back. She left the envelope on the table. I didn't touch it. I just sat there, watching the rain, realizing that I wasn't just dealing with snobs. I was dealing with snakes. The next day, I went to my real office. No polyester, no scuffed shoes. I wore charcoal silk and pearls that cost more than Richard's house. My assistant, Sarah, handed me the file for the new regional director position. Richard's name was at the very top. His resume was impressive, but his character, it was bankrupt. I looked at the security footage from the restaurant the night before. I own that coffee shop, too. I watched the recording of Tiffany sliding that bribe across the table. I watched the way she looked at me with such disgust. Then, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Richard. He didn't know he was texting the CEO's private, vetted line. He thought he was messaging the HR head's automated system to check his status. His message read, I trust the Sterling family appreciates my commitment to cleaning up my associations. I've ensured there will be no distractions or low-class elements at my upcoming family events that could embarrass the firm. Looking forward to the signing at the gala. He was bragging about getting rid of me to the very person he was trying to impress. I leaned back in my chair and called my lawyer. Mark, I said, I want to change the itinerary for the Friday night gala. We're not doing a standard keynote. We're doing a family values presentation. And I want Richard and his family front and center. I want them to have the best seats in the house right before the floor drops out from under them. The stage was set. They wanted a wedding without a poor mother. Fine. I wouldn't give them a mother at all. I would give them the CEO they'd been dying to meet. And I was going to make sure the entire city watched them realize exactly who they had insulted. The night of the Sterling Global Annual Gala had arrived. Richard and Evelyn were in their element. They had spent thousands on a wardrobe they couldn't afford, convinced that tonight was the night Richard would be named regional director. I watched them from the security room upstairs. They were laughing, drinking the finest champagne, my champagne, and whispering to their high society friends about how Leo's poor mother had thankfully fallen ill, and wouldn't be attending the wedding or the gala. Tiffany was there too, looking radiant in a white dress that looked suspiciously like a wedding gown. She was telling a group of investors that her future mother-in-law was a simple woman who preferred the quiet life of the countryside. I adjusted my diamond earrings and looked at Sarah. Are the microphones live? I asked. Every single one, Mom, she replied with a small, knowing smile. And the teleprompter is ready. I decided to walk the floor before the speeches. I wanted to see the look on their faces up close. I walked straight toward Richard. He was mid-sentence, bragging about his close ties to the Sterling family. When I stepped into the light, his glass hit the floor. The sound of shattering crystal echoed through the immediate circle. May, he gasped, his face turning a ghostly shade of gray. What are you doing here? How did you get past security? You need to leave before. Before what, Richard? I asked, my voice as smooth as silk. Before I embarrass you in front of your important friends. Or before I show everyone that $5,000 check your daughter tried to bribe me with. Evelyn stepped forward, her face twisted in rage. You delusional old woman. You probably stole that dress. Security. Get this peasant out of here. The security guards moved in, but they didn't grab me. They stood at attention and bowed. Good evening, Madam CEO, they said in unison. The silence that followed wasn't just quiet, it was heavy. It was the sound of Richard's world collapsing. I didn't need to scream. I let the screen do the talking. I walked up to the podium and tapped the mic. Ladies and gentlemen, I began. Tonight was supposed to be about celebrating our new leadership. But leadership is built on integrity, not on how well you can look down your nose at someone you perceive as less than. I looked directly at Richard, who was trembling in the front row. Richard, I said into the microphone, my voice echoing through the hall. You sent me a message saying you were cleaning up your associations. You were so worried that a poor mother would ruin your reputation that you forgot one very important rule of business. Never insult the person who owns the chair you're trying to sit in. I turned to the audience. Mr. Richard's application for regional director has been denied. In fact, after a quick audit of his current department, prompted by his own arrogance, we found several irregularities in his expense reports. Not only is he not getting a promotion, but Sterling Global will be filing a formal suit for embezzlement starting Monday morning. Tiffany tried to run to Leo, to cry on his shoulder, to claim it was all a test or a mistake. But Leo had seen the video. He saw the girl he loved tried to buy off his mother like she was a piece of trash. He didn't say a word. He just turned his back on her and walked toward me. The poor, naive mother was gone. In her place was the woman who had built an empire. As they were led out of the building, stripped of their dignity and their future, I sat back down at the head table. I took a sip of water and looked at my son. I'm sorry you had to see that, Leo, I whispered. He took my hand and squeezed it. Don't be, Mom. I'd rather be alone than be with people who think love has a price tag. I learned a lot that week. I learned that some people only respect the suit not the person inside it. And if you ever find yourself being looked down upon because of what you're wearing, or what's in your bank account, just remember, the person sitting at the smallest table might just own the whole building. Good night, honey. Sleep well.